The digital execution order drops at 20 to 45 on a Tuesday. The 3 words every man secretly anticipates. We need to talk. It is the smartphone equivalent of the curtain falling, and the sound of that sole notification echoes in the sudden, sickening silence. By Thursday afternoon, her stuff is gone from your apartment. By the following Monday, her Instagram story features a different man's watch, a fancy rooftop bar you never visited, and a radiant smile that hauntingly mirrors the one she reserved for your early weeks together. This curated, cold digital parade of her new happiness feels like a meticulous, personal insult designed to prove how instantaneously you were rendered obsolete. You sit staring at your screen, trying to solve a complex math problem where none of the variables align. Your mind desperately searches for a fatal flaw in your logic, completely unwilling to accept the obvious, crushing answer. How does a person go from professing lifelong commitment to claiming relationship anxiety, to showcasing her new partner in under a fortnight? How does a woman who insisted she required extensive soul-searching immediately find herself so conveniently situated in the embrace of somebody else? It is an infuriating riddle that drives men to the brink, because that promised period of personal space turned out to be the briefest off-season in recorded romantic history. That entire timeline is too precise, too seamless, too obviously pre-planned. This was absolutely not an impulsive separation followed by a fortunate chance meeting. This was a strategic transition executed with cold, military precision. She didn't end things with you, then meet someone new. She met someone new, and then she ended things with you. The realization hits with the stunning impact of a runaway freight train. You were not merely a boyfriend or a fiancé. You were a position she only vacated after successfully securing a superior candidate. You know this man. You might even be this man right now. The guy who genuinely thought he was in a secure, committed relationship while his current girlfriend was actively interviewing replacements. The man who trusted her when she claimed she required a break, only to later discover she needed that space exclusively for someone else. Today, I'm going to systematically unpack the brutal psychology of why some women transition so effortlessly and smoothly from one relationship directly to the next, often with gaps so minimal they must be measured in hours, not months. Because grasping this consistent, predictable pattern isn't about fostering cynicism toward the opposite sex. It is about fundamentally understanding the strategic, market-driven logic that governs this behavior you've been agonizingly taking personally, even though, in reality, it was never personal at all. Do you want to keep taking the systemic personally? Let's begin. Here is the initial key to correctly decoding female relationship patterns. Many women approach relationships with the same calculated strategy that ambitious professionals apply to their careers. They rarely submit their notice at one job until they have already secured another. They don't terminate one arrangement until they have firmly negotiated a superior one. They don't sever a critical connection until a new, sturdier bridge has been fully constructed. This is not necessarily a sign of emotional instability or moral weakness. This is, at its core, strategic thinking meticulously applied to romantic life, just as no rational, financially conscious person quits a job without a confirmed offer in hand. No strategic woman terminates a partnership without a viable option in reserve. The perceived stakes are too high, the uncertainty too great, and the potential personal fallout too severe. She instinctively grasps the inherent risks of what we call emotional unemployment, a temporary loss of social status, potential financial insecurity, and the terrifying prospect of immediately re-entering the competitive, chaotic, high-effort dating market. For her, being single is not viewed as a liberating period of freedom or discovery. It is understood as a state of unacceptable vulnerability that must be minimized at all costs. Every single day spent without an established partner is a day. Her market value may be statistically declining as the biological clock ticks louder. Therefore, maintaining continuous partnership becomes an essential, non-negotiable form of risk management, the relational equivalent of having steady, reliable income. She cannot afford the luxury of simply quitting to find herself and blindly hoping for the best possible outcome. Single is vulnerability. Partnership is risk management. Now, think about how genuine career changes actually unfold in the professional world. You don't suddenly wake up, walk into your manager's office, and announce your departure with no future plan. You secretly conduct interviews, successfully negotiate significantly improved terms, and secure a signed offer letter before you ever submit your formal 2-week notice. To your current employer, the eventual transition feels abrupt and shocking, but it was months of careful, calculated groundwork. Women apply this identical strategic logic to their romantic lives. The breakup conversation that leaves you completely blindsided was invariably preceded by weeks or even months of intensive market research, preliminary low-stakes conversations, and soft negotiations with potential alternatives. By the time she finally utters that dreaded phrase, "We need to talk," she has often already completed a full background check on your replacement candidate. This deep-seated career mentality is the exact reason why the transition timing always feels impossible and utterly incomprehensible to you. Why do men and women process breakups differently? You are calculating in terms of emotional processing time how long it realistically takes to fall out of love with one person and genuinely into love with another. She is calculating in terms of strategic planning time how long it takes to efficiently identify better professional opportunities and strategically position herself to immediately seize them. The actual gap between relationships isn't about emotional recovery time. It's about successful contract negotiation and the efficient onboarding process at the new organizational structure. In the demanding corporate world, the largest, most impactful salary increases rarely come from internal promotions. They come from changing companies entirely. Staying with the same employer usually yields a marginal 3% to 5% annual raise, but expertly changing employers can lead to a stunning 20% to 50% increase in total compensation and career trajectory. Women have realized that this identical principle applies with equal force to their relationships. The lifestyle improvements, emotional benefits, and crucial social status upgrades they seek generally don't come from attempting to negotiate slightly better treatment within a stagnant existing relationship. They come from efficiently using a current relationship to secure a demonstrably better relationship. Each partnership, therefore, functions as a stepping stone to the next level of the ladder, never a final, permanent destination. This upgrade system explains why she might abruptly abandon a perfectly functional, stable relationship for something that, from your outside perspective, appears only marginally better. You, the man, evaluate the trade-off based on simple current satisfaction levels. Is this new guy really that much better than me right now? She evaluates it based on trajectory and potential. What significant benefits or security can this new situation realistically provide that my current one never will? This dynamic also explains precisely why your desperate attempts to fix the relationship after she has already mentally, strategically checked out feel so hopelessly futile. You are naively offering a small 5% internal retention raise, when she has already successfully negotiated a 50% external offer that includes a signing bonus. Your late retention efforts feel too minimal and too delayed because, objectively, they are too minimal and too delayed. This practice of relationship arbitrage keeps women perpetually scanning the external market for significantly better deals while intelligently maintaining their current position for security. She isn't necessarily always actively looking for a replacement in a predatory sense, but her radar is permanently engaged and seeking data. She is perpetually comparing the current market value of her established union against what is genuinely available elsewhere. Even a seemingly innocent, friendly chat with a male colleague or an old high school acquaintance can be a subconscious data gathering mission for this constant, ongoing strategic analysis. She maintains warm leads and keeps her options viable, ensuring that the second an offer superior to her current one materializes, she is psychologically and practically ready to act. This entire methodical process is often completely invisible to her current partner, who sees only stability, routine, and comfort until suddenly the resignation day arrives. For him, the resulting breakup is an earth-shattering shock and a profound betrayal, not a logical, calculated career move. He gravely mistook her physical presence for permanent commitment, failing to grasp that the interviews, in one form or another, had never actually stopped. In the end, he is left holding an outdated compensation package, agonizing why his loyalty wasn't valued on the ruthlessly competitive open market. Is your loyalty being measured by your market value? One of the most counterintuitive aspects of this dynamic is why women who transition rapidly often choose men who, in measurable terms, seem less successful or less financially established than their previous partners. This appears illogical until you grasp the theory of developmental investment. Women instinctively recognize that men who have already been successfully navigating committed relationships possess what economists term human capital that single men often lack. They have been extensively trained in crucial relationship skills, emotional intelligence, and partnership dynamics. He already understands the necessity of compromise, how to communicate effectively during conflict, and the fundamental importance of consistent emotional support. Conversely, a relational rookie would require months or years of intensive training to achieve the same competency. These established men represent a demonstrably lower risk investment because their essential relationship competency has already been fully proven and painstakingly developed by previous partners. This structural reality creates a perverse incentive structure where the men most inherently attractive to women seeking partnerships are precisely the men who are already in relationships or have only just recently exited one. The entire developmental work, the emotional labor, has already been completed by someone else. The new partner essentially acquires a turnkey-ready product that requires only minor customization, not a full, expensive build-out from scratch. This theory perfectly explains why she might have chosen someone who appears to be an obvious downgrade to you in static categories like income or physical appearance. She is not assessing static attributes. She is assessing dynamic potential and, crucially, the amount of additional developmental effort required to meet her standards. Your replacement might be simply more emotionally available or immediately ready for commitment, and thus represents a superior return on investment. She isn't betting on who he is now. She is shrewdly betting on who he can quickly become with her focused guidance, using the robust foundation someone else already built. The most deeply frustrating element of this theory is how it severely penalizes the men who actually do the developmental work. You invest vast amounts of time and emotional energy training someone to be a significantly better partner, only to watch her take those upgraded skills and that refined emotional intelligence to a new partner who reaps the benefits of your enormous investment without paying any of the development costs. You have essentially run a completely unpaid emotional internship, meticulously preparing the perfect partner for someone else, leaving you with nothing but the painful training bill. The trainer gets the bill, the new partner gets the benefit. Women who transition quickly are employing sophisticated, consistent risk management strategies designed to minimize their exposure to the extreme vulnerability of being single. They are not jumping from man to man out of simple neediness or an inability to be alone. They are deliberately maintaining continuous relationship coverage to avoid an unacceptable lapse in security, social status, and consistent emotional support. This pragmatic approach views being single not as a natural, healthy phase of personal growth, but as an unacceptable state of vulnerability that must be rigorously avoided. This vulnerability isn't merely emotional or psychological. It is intensely practical, affecting everything from her long-term social circle to her financial safety net. The costs and risks of being alone, social isolation, economic uncertainty, and the relentless pressure of the biological clock are collectively too high to justify voluntary exposure to that state when viable alternatives are available. This is a deliberate portfolio approach. It involves maintaining multiple relationship options at varying stages of development, essentially hedging her bets. This portfolio might seamlessly consist of a platonic friend at work who is always available to listen, a former partner with whom careful, warm contact is maintained, and a new acquaintance from a social club who expresses interest. This is not necessarily literal cheating, but it is strategic networking expertly ensuring smooth, rapid transitions when current arrangements inevitably become unsatisfactory. She is actively managing a pipeline of potential opportunities, rather than relying solely on chance encounters. Maintaining this pipeline requires constant, low-level networking efforts so that by the time one door definitively closes, another is not just cracked open, but fully ready to walk through. This calculated approach also explains why the transition seems so brutally calculated and emotionless to you. She is not making impulsive, feelings-based decisions governed by the immediate moment. She is executing deeply strategic plans based on objective risk-benefit analysis. What you perceive as cold-heartedness or lack of empathy is actually a supreme form of emotional self-discipline geared ruthlessly towards survival and efficiency in the competitive relationship market. Her true emotional processing often occurs in private parallel, often months before the actual breakup announcement, which is why by the time the conversation arrives, she is already psychologically ready to move on, while the man is just beginning the chaotic process of processing the crisis. She has already mentally concluded the relationship and is in the final implementation phase of her exit plan. His profound shock is a direct result of her effective information and emotional management, which successfully kept him in the dark until the very last possible moment. As a result, he enters a painful period of mourning and chaos while she transitions flawlessly to the next pre-vetted position with minimal personal loss. One of the most sophisticated aspects of this strategy is how a current relationship provides powerful leverage for successfully negotiating a better future relationship. A woman who is already securely in a partnership is negotiating from a position of abundance and strength as she explores alternatives. She is under no pressure to rush or to lower her established standards because her basic social and emotional needs are already being met by her current partner. A single woman, by sharp contrast, is negotiating from a perceived position of need or scarcity. This perceived need often manifests as desperate energy, which immediately lowers her inherent attractiveness and bargaining power. She is psychologically pressured to settle for less than her ideal, because her portfolio is currently empty, and any new investment feels superior to none. This leverage works because men value what other men already value. A woman who is clearly desired by her current partner provides social proof, making her instantly more attractive to potential new partners than a woman who appears to be openly struggling to find or keep a relationship. Your very existence serves as a living, breathing certificate of quality, signaling to others that she has already been rigorously vetted and found worthy of a long-term commitment by an existing high-value male. The inherent competition created by your presence drives up her perceived market value. The very fact that she has been taken elevates her status, turning her into a prize to be won rather than just another option available on the wide open market. The potential buyer correctly sees that the item is already in high demand, which automatically raises her perceived price in his mind. This explains why desperate attempts to win her back after she has successfully left often fail spectacularly. Once she has seamlessly transitioned to the new relationship, your prior leverage is completely eliminated, while hers is immediately maximized. She is now on a higher rung of the career ladder, while you are left desperately trying to hire her back to her previous position at a demoted, lower value rank. At this crucial point, you become the one negotiating from a position of need, thereby conclusively confirming her strategic decision to leave for a stronger option. Your belated offers and sudden promises now sound exactly like a desperate counteroffer from a recently fired employee, irrelevant and utterly pathetic. Women operate under significant biological constraints that generate a decision-making urgency that most men fail to fully appreciate. A 30-year-old man can comfortably afford to take a year or two off dating to comprehensively figure himself out. For a 30-year-old woman, that same year can be absolutely critical. The biological fertility window, intense social expectations, and the competitive pressure of the dating market collectively create time-sensitive decisions that ruthlessly prioritize efficiency over sentimentality. This internal timer is relentless and dictates a strategic approach that has zero room for sentimental gaps or prolonged breaks. This pressure means women cannot afford the luxury of spending months or years sequentially processing breakups, taking extended dating holidays, or gradually working through emotional issues while single. Every month of relationship downtime represents a compounding opportunity cost that rapidly increases over time. While she is healing and finding herself, her reproductive capital is diminishing, and the best options on the market are actively being claimed by competitors. The traditional advice to take time for yourself is viewed by this strategic mindset not just as a luxury, but as a severe strategic error. This intense pressure creates what I term relationship efficiency optimization. The core goal is to minimize the transition time between partners, not to maximize the recovery time between relationships. The focus immediately shifts from healing the past to aggressively positioning for the future. The emotional energy that would be spent mourning a loss is seen as an inefficient allocation of limited emotional resources. That same energy is far better invested in actively cultivating new opportunities. Her grieving for the past relationship often happens in parallel with the new relationship search, not sequentially, as it does for most men. They are not avoiding emotional processing. They are managing it more efficiently by directing their emotional energy toward prospective, rather than retrospective actions. This emotional multitasking allows her to close one door while simultaneously opening another. with virtually no valuable time lost. The man, by contrast, often needs a clean, definitive end to one chapter before he can even think about cautiously starting the next. He sees her rapid movement as callousness or a shocking lack of affection, when for her, it is an existential necessity dictated by her immutable biology. In her strategic calculation, downtime is not rest. It is a fundamental loss in the race against time. What feels like a deeply personal betrayal is actually systemic behavior that follows ruthlessly predictable patterns based on strategic logic, biological constraints, and the cold reality of market dynamics. This entire system operates largely independently of your individual qualities or your personal level of commitment. Even great guys get seamlessly replaced when superior opportunities arise, and the objective conditions for a transition become favorable. Your adequacy as a partner is far less relevant than your position within her strategic planning process. Understanding this phenomenon on a systemic level removes the painful personal sting while simultaneously giving you vital insight into the dynamics that affect most men in the modern dating landscape. You are not just competing against your own standards. You are competing against an ever-shifting portfolio of alternative opportunities that offer a different value proposition within her strategic framework. And if this video helped you fundamentally understand the strategic logic behind rapid relationship transitions, and you want to learn more about developing your own strategic, high-value approach to modern dating dynamics, please like this video and subscribe to Psychotic Soul. We are here to dissect the necessary, sometimes painful truth about human nature. Click the bell icon, because understanding these underlying patterns can help you navigate modern relationships with demonstrably better outcomes and significantly less emotional damage. Share this video with any man you know who needs to grasp that relationship transitions are overwhelmingly strategic decisions, not deeply personal rejections. The goal is not to become a cynic, but to internalize the strategic framework that governs behavior and to respond accordingly, rather than consistently taking systemic behavior personally. When you understand the explicit rules of the game, you can play it far more effectively instead of being repeatedly surprised by utterly predictable outcomes. Stop being a reactive piece on her chessboard and start seeing the entire game.